Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar, and I would like to welcome you to the ILO's Impact Insurance Facilities webinar on putting client insights into practice. This webinar is actually part of a series that we're running on client value this year as a part of the facility's 10-year anniversary celebration. Today's webinar will focus on using client data to design better products and services. Actually, now many insurers are already collecting a good amount of client data, especially those that are entering and trying to serve the low income and mass markets. But providers often struggle to use that information in a cost-effective way that makes sense for their businesses. So in this webinar, we will share tips and recommendations on how to put client insights into practice and showcase some examples from companies such as BIMA and Britam. Maybe just a quick introduction on the webinar system. So the webinar will run for about 60 minutes. We have reserved some time at the end to respond to questions from you. So you will see in the control panel a little box to enter questions. So please do submit your questions throughout the webinar, and we will try to collate and answer as many as we can at the end of the webinar. And questions that we are not able to respond to today, we will actually respond to them in writing afterwards. So please do feel free to submit questions as we move forward. Maybe now I'll just introduce the 4 speakers that we have today. So our first speaker will be Alice Mary. So Alice is a research officer with the Impact Insurance Facility. She's based in Lima and works with partners around the globe to test and analyze innovative insurance solutions for the low-income and emerging markets. This webinar is actually based on insights that Alice has been gathering as part of a new publication that will come out in the next few months. So please do keep an eye out for that. After Alice, we'll move to Angela Madriz, who is the Regional Product Manager for Latin America for BIMA. Angela first joined BIMA as the country manager for Honduras, and since 2017, she started a new role as the regional product manager for the LATAM region. She is responsible for implementing the product strategy to optimally roll out new products and product enhancements in the LATAM region. She also oversees the life cycle and experience of our customers for BIMA. Also from BIMA, we have Osvaldo Gimenez, who is the Business Development Manager in Paraguay. So Osvaldo is responsible for the design and development of new products in Paraguay, as well as initiating new strategic alliances with local financial institutions. He also deals with managing relationships with local underwriters and the insurance regulator. So Angela and Osvaldo will provide insights on how BIMA has been putting client insights into practice. And then the second organization that we will hear from today is from Britam in Kenya. And Saurabh Sharma, who is placed at Britam, is an ILO's Impact Insurance Fellow. At Britam, he's responsible for providing technical inputs and project management support and implementing a innovation and change management project. Saurabh has been working in advisory and project management capacity in the inclusive insurance space in South Asia and East Africa since 2012. So without further ado, I will now hand the mic, so to speak, over to Alice, who will give us a brief introduction on the topic, as well as provide some key insights that we've learned on how to make better use of client data. So Alice, over to you.
Thank you, Aparna. We can move to the next slide. Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, depending where you were. As Aparna mentioned, we've been carrying out a piece of research and working on a paper looking at how to put client insights into practice. And in order to do the research, we carried out interviews with different insurance companies in various countries across the world. And really what we were hearing in general from the companies is that the challenge isn't really in how to carry out client research as such. There already exists a lot of really good tools to do the research. And the challenge really is more in interpreting and putting into practice those insights. And that's why we chose to really focus this webinar on that aspect. And I think two kind of messages came out of the research for me. And one of them was about expectations of client research and really understanding that it's not just a matter of doing one piece of research, finding an ideal solution and implementing a product. It's really a constant, ongoing, iterative process that allows you to get the right products and the right processes over time. And the second message that really stood out for me when we did the research was that putting clients into practice is at its core really a question of change management within the organization itself. It's about the organization or the insurer having the right structures, the right culture, the right processes to understand clients, meet their needs and kind of constantly adapt to what they want. And you're going to get a couple of really good examples of that kind of culture today from BIMA and from Britam. So during the research, we identified six main messages about how to put client insights into practice. And the first was that it's really important to build capacity in-house. Often there's a tendency to outsource everything to market research companies, and yes, they can have a role, but it's really important to have capacity to do the research in-house because that affects the capacity to then put those into practice. However, we did find that companies make some quite interesting strategic use of outsiders, especially for the ideation process afterwards, the process of coming up with possible products or processes, where sometimes, for example, one company brought in a medical doctor to help them with the ideation process around a health insurance product. The second point I think is really, really key, and this is about embedding the right structures in the company. And we can go to the next slide. And the companies interviewed had different ways of going about this, and I just want to mention a few of them, but I think having a structure in the company that's responsible for clients and for putting those insights into practice is really key. So in some companies that have been successful in this, they had a dedicated person or department or group that were the voice of the client. So for example, AXA globally has an emerging consumers team. And when I interviewed them, they said to me, we're the emerging customers experts, we're not the insurance experts. So their role was really to be the voice of the customer and to be the expert for the whole group in understanding that customer. Cross-functional teams were also really important, and many companies have put together cross-functional teams to really focus on understanding their client base. And one point that was made a few times was it's really important to involve sales agents as well in those teams. And finally, some companies had more complex structures really built into the whole of their company. And I'm not going to say anything more about that because BIMA is going to pick up a bit on that. And I think going to find the example of BIMA structure really interesting in that way. Great, next slide. Something that I found really fascinating from the research was that although, yes, it's really important to use to kind of do the change management, change the mindsets in order for people to in order for the company to be ready to put client insights into practice, client research was also a kind of tool to change mindsets in itself. And doing customer research jointly with local offices, with new partners, was identified as a really good way to align the mindsets and align the objectives of everybody who was working on a new product. So. And something really interesting that came out of AXA Mansard in Nigeria was this idea of reverse innovation, which was that, you know, they could use the client research techniques of the emerging customer team to convince, to carry out client research jointly with other parts of the business, and not only convince the rest of the business of the importance of that customer segment, but also show them some tools that they could use. And they found that, you know, some of the tools that we might be familiar with in the microinsurance space, like customer journeys, client profiles, started to be picked up and used by other parts of the business. And the next was that we were seeing a move towards some quicker, more iterative design and implementation processes. Next slide. Okay, next slide again, and on to the next one. Yeah, next one. Great. So many companies were experimenting with different ways to achieve a quicker, more iterative process. Some of them had taken sprint processes and adapted them to their businesses. For example, we even have a blog on the website from Microinsure that explains how they did that. But it's really a matter of experimenting with a shorter process. Doing research, coming up with a solution within a few days, and taking it directly to the market to test it, to see whether it's any good, whether it works, and taking it back and adapting it. So this is really a much more condensed process than a traditional market research process, where you would carry out a market research that might take a month to complete. You would then come up with a solution, and then you would launch and pilot it. Here we have people experimenting with much more condensed process. And one interesting comment we had was that, you know, there's a tendency to always give positive feedback, and in many countries, you know, culturally, people will often say, yeah, I like it, it's nice, yeah, I'd buy it. And how do you really test whether that's true? I had one interesting example of a company that were actually selling people the product, a fake product, a prototype of product for real money, and then, you know, afterwards returning it and giving them, you know, small gift to make up for the fact that they'd sort of wasted their time selling them a fake product. But it really allowed them to test in real life whether people really did want to buy their product or not. Obviously, there are some restrictions on these kind of more iterative processes depending on the regulation. For example, South Africa has taken an approach that it's possible to pilot products without filing them, and this allows a lot more flexibility, but it's not possible in all cases. We also really emphasized in the findings of the research that client research is an ongoing process, not a one-off activity. And some companies had found that they were carrying it out originally in a more reactive way. You know, something's gone wrong and you want to understand why your clients are upset, or when, you know, a new strategic exercise has begun. But really, those had kind of been changed for processes that were more ongoing, more iterative. So successful companies are leveraging really their existing touch points with their clients, their agents, their distribution channels, their phone lines, online surveys, to get really consistent feedback from their clients and adapting all the time. Finally, I want to mention the power of client personas, because this really stood out in the research. Organizations and their teams are getting more and more interested in better understanding their clients, but sometimes they will say that they feel a bit overwhelmed by all the information they get, and they struggle to synthesize, categorize, know what's most important about that information. And really creating client personas has proved very powerful in combating that. And you're going to hear a little bit later from Britam about the personas that they've used, and I think that will give a really concrete idea of how to use a client persona. But many of the companies that we interviewed said that creating a set of personas out of the client data that they had created a real sense that there was a real person that all the employees should be thinking about and should be developing products directly for this real person. It also helped insurers and distributors get aligned in their aims and their focus on these personas, and gave them a common vocabulary and understanding of the client needs. So they could say, oh yeah, this person, you know, Anna, we could say she was called this particular persona. In this case, she would want this process. And immediately everybody would know who this persona was and why that would be relevant for them. And what was interesting was that companies are also using these personas to develop processes and then to train frontline agents as well. Sometimes we assume that our agents know our clients extremely well and are very comfortable talking to them about things. But if we're selling, you know, maybe an accident or a death product, they might not be so familiar or so comfortable or know how to talk to the client about that. So these personas can be really interesting, really important for training agents as well. So this was a very kind of rapid overview of the main insights that we've got from this research. And as Aparna mentioned, we will be releasing a paper soon, which will have tons of examples from different companies. But for now, I'd like to bring in Angela, pass over the virtual microphone to her. And Angela is going to tell us a bit more about what I've already been mentioning about how to have the right structures, how to have the right processes, how to make use of client insights a really ongoing process. So thank you, Angela, over to you.
Thank you, Alice. Thanks for the invitation. It's a really pleasure to be here sharing about our company and what we're doing when it comes to customer insights and for customer-centric product design, which is what I'm going to talk to you about. So if we can go to the next slide, and let me quickly introduce the company for those that might be not familiar to BIMA. So what we do is that we use BIMA is a groundbreaking Swedish company that uses mobile technology to deliver affordable and easy to use products to our emerging markets. So what we do is we service the low-income families in emerging markets through the mobile technology, basically. And just to let you know, well, we are in 15 countries, as shown in the slide. We have reached 26 million customers, and we've been growing very fast in the last 6 years. So now what we do is that we bring in around 600,000 customers per month. So the interesting thing is about BIMA is that we partner with a mobile operator. For example, in Paraguay, we are partnering with Tigo as part of Millicom, and we manage the entire customer experience from the product design and distribution to education and service delivery, including the part of claims. So, so what we do really is that our agent force provides product education to all the customers before they purchase the product through the registration via handset in less than 2 minutes. So this is like the core model that we manage. Of course, technology is very important because that we manage to plug into the operator automatically, and we manage to deduct payment either to prepaid, monthly or daily, with their airtime, or postpaid through their monthly invoice. So that's pretty much the introduction of BIMA, what we do. So right now, well, the whole purpose of what we do is and we have realized that we need to offer excellent products and an excellent experience to the customer. So that's in the end to be able to provide simple products and deliver value and quality. So if we go to the next, this slide, this is a bit tells the story of BIMA, because as I said, we have been in the market for more than 6 years, and so it's a still new company. So at the beginning, the strategy was more on growing, and the focus was more on intake, having standard products to be offered, insurance products. But then we realized in 2016 and 2017 that we needed to change that focus, or to modify a bit that focus, and to become more customer-centric. So these slides show how the 3 easy steps on how to become and to become more human-centered or more customer-centric. So everything, the first step that we have gone through is that we must develop a deep empathy for our customers. So everything begins at that. So we have come to realize that our customers are individuals and not numbers in our systems, and this is quite a challenge when you have when you work in the massive and micro insurance, which is massive, but then you need to realize that we're the customers are individuals, and even one mistake can have an impact on their lives. So I think that's the basic mindset that we have promoted throughout the whole company in the 15 operations that we're in right now. So it's easy to think, okay, we need to embrace new techniques for understanding our customers. So there are like the conventional methodologies, either in quantitative and qualitative research, that we start trying on, such as, for example, focus groups, interviews, mystery shopping, ethnographic field studies, and customer diaries. So these were the first efforts that BIMA went through when she wanted to become, like the company wanted to become more customer centric. And then finally, it is very important that this customer insight is integrated in all stages of our business. So what are the two main stages of our business? Of course, the product design, with where everything starts, and then but not also in the product design. So that's been the pre-sale stage, but also in the post-sale. So that means we need to be customer-centric also when we deliver the service. And I'm gonna talk a little bit, Amar, about this in the next slide. Okay, so as I said, the first step for understanding that we needed to become more customer-centric. So what we did last year is we developed a set of tools, first globally, and then we also involved all the company in this new effort. And we launched a global initiative, which is called the BIMA Design Thinking. So it's a guide that we use in all the operations, and it's called, and what we use is the human-centered design approach. So what it is like the human-centered design approach. So as the name states, we are applying design thinking to solving problems and addressing the needs of our customer. So it's an entire process that starts with the customers that we're designing for and ends with the new solution and tailor-made, and that are tailor-made to suit their needs. So to explain you what we are doing is, I'm going to explain this in 3 steps. And this is an approach that we have been testing first in Ghana, in Africa, and now in some of the operations of Asia as well. And now we're going to be, recently in Paraguay as well, with the mHealth product that we're launching. We are also employing or applying this technique. So it's everything, like there are like 3 main phases that we use. So first comes the inspiration. So what is the inspiration? So this starts with a design challenge. So questions that we might have at this point is, how do I start designing? How I can conduct an interview? How and so this is more like a the challenge that we have to design the product. So I have talked before about conventional research, but now this approach goes beyond this conventional research. So we are applying other techniques, which we found out that are more useful for our markets, that are emerging markets. So I'm gonna use an example for this inspiration part, so everybody can understand. So with a thing that Henry Ford said once, he said, if I asked my customers what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. So what does it mean? They wouldn't have said a car with these features, and no. So people cannot tell us what they need, their needs are, but their actual behaviors can give us invaluable ideas about their unmet needs. So this is just to give you an example on how these techniques, for example, learning from people, like going and interview the people that you're gonna be designing for, it's so important. Another technique that we use a lot is, for example, talking to experts in the field. So our research will always start, for example, with an interview with somebody in the field that can give us some valuable insights about the communities that we're going to serve. And the third example I can also give you is the immersion, customer immersion. That is very important for us, and it is about immersing yourself in their lives and their communities. So we take the time to speak with the customers whatever they are, either it is in a, for example, in a Tigo store or in I don't know, in a market as well. So we go and take the time to explore their needs, to talk with them and observe their actual experience, right? So this is very important in the inspiration phase. Obviously, we will need the conventional research in order to have a robust study. But what I'm saying is that that these types of research are becoming very, very useful for us when designing the product. We're designing the product. The second phase is the ideation. So this is when the opportunity comes for design. So it's all about transforming the insights we got from the inspiration phase to transforming these insights into ideas. And for that, you will see in the pictures there that it all starts by having multiple options to create choices of new products offering, and then test these competing ideas. And so we use, like, for example, post-its with hundreds of ideas. Doesn't matter, like one really good idea they said that comes from a lot of ideas, and we select the best ideas, and then we create eventually in the third phase, which is the implementation. We create this prototype that we're gonna test. So we create the idea turns to be more concrete, and we test, we iterate, and then we define. So prototype, because our products are insurance products, this is more like not tangible. So the question is, how can I make a prototype for an insurance product? So what we do is that we use a lot of storyboard or storytelling using multimedia. For example, it's a very nice way to show, you know, the customers how the product's gonna look like, and so to get their feedback about it. So this is very important, and Osvaldo will guide you through some examples on that. But to finish with this quick introduction in the methodology, I want to I want just to introduce the example of Paraguay with BIMA Doctor. So this is in the mHealth, the mobile health field. So right now we are entering more in this type of business. So it's a more complex product, like starting like with a Dr. BIMA in the core, offering in unlimited consultations, but we also have enriched this product with different services, like, for example, weekly health tips through SMS, like having discounts with partners such as pharmacies or hospitals, and also, well, everything it's done through, ideally at some point, through the app, through an app. So as you see, many features and many needs have come, like, and we have tested this, for example, already in Ghana, and we're going to be testing this in Paraguay. And that's how through all this process of being human-centered, the idea is to suit really the needs of the customers. And finally, another tip that I want to share with you is that we're working this at, as I said, at a global level and a local level. And really, for the company, one of the big priorities is what we call the product excellence and customer obsession. So this is a group that is multidisciplinary and we have people from all the operations working in this priority with global initiatives that then we can spread in the whole organization. So for us, that's the way we become these customer ambassadors at all levels of the organization. So I will hand over right now to Osvaldo from Paraguay, so he can give you the examples on how we employ the customer-centric approach, as I said, not only in the product design, but also in the whole customer journey.
Okay, and hi to the audience. Thanks for the invitation, Alice. Today, we want to present our experience in BIMA, Paraguay, on how we take leverage of the customer insights in each stage of the customer journey, mainly to improve the experience and satisfaction of our customers. From the customer segmentation, followed by how we educate our customers, or quality control process in the sales, and our continuous customer engagement, and finally how we generate simple process in placement management. Can we move next slide, please? And everything begins with the knowledge of our customers, the customer segmentations. Knowing the needs, the wishes of your customer is mainly who are the people who are buying your product, and who these people think. That's these people feel when they buy or source kit in your product. Personally, I think that the industry, apart from understanding or focuses on numbers in insurance, understands people or customers, and use this knowledge to improve our process and product. In BIMA, 75% of BIMA customers never have insurance, and a customer to life with less than $10 per day. People in vulnerable zones excluded from the economics and financial system without formal protections and access to some type of savings or credit. In BIMA, we conduct extensive market research to meet the customer needs. We develop product according to the customer needs with high value from them. And the other mainly thing is that our M&O business model allows us to segmented approach and reach our target customer directly. Also, through from the research and knowledge of our customer, we achieve a continuous improvement of our process and product. Next slide, please. Regarding the education of our customer during the sales process, in BIMA globally, we use 3 different channels to have educations. Call center channels, M&O branch, field agents. Each of these channels with different challenges. In Paraguay, we particularly focused on the sales process through the call center, where dedicated agents perform sales management and also educate our customer above the importance of the insurance in the life of the customers. In Paraguay, unfortunately, there is not much insurance culture. The penetration of the insurance is just 2%. And we could consider that selling insurance to a Paraguayan is really difficult task. In this situation, we were forced to look for alternatives. And one of them is to use the emotional factors in our sales and education process. We have realized that when we present our sales agent testimonial for customer who have already received compensation from BIMA, and when they see the story behind the customer, who are generally quite sad, very humble family that had not received the compensation, they will have sold what little that had covered for an expense of their family member. And by using this story, this experience of our customer in their sales script, they managed to generate an emotional bond with the customer and thus increase their sales. I consider that when we use the emotional, or we learn that we use the emotional factors in our capacitation of our agent, and we use the emotional factor with the customer, is more, we have more connection with our customer to sell insurance. Next slide, please. About sales quality insurance, our focus on quality control allow us to achieve high levels of customer satisfaction. We conduct monthly assessment and the level of customer satisfaction with our products and service. Here's important to highlight that our telephone surveys are recorded, and we take the time to listen to an important number of calls every month to understand the needs, those and queries of our customer, and use this information to make improve in our products and process. I think we need to, or the industry need to use the experience of the customer when our customer calls to the customer service. We need to understand that each customer have different needs, and if we use that need to improve our process of product, we improve the industry. Next slide, please. About our continuous customer engagement, we have innovative Dr. Vemma health service was developed to generate continuous value for our customer in order to commit or serve the integral well-being of the consultations and his integral well-being on the customer and his family. This service made available to the customer access to remote medical consultation wherever the client is, 24 hours per day. And what we learn with this kind of service, that the traditional insurance, maybe in Paraguay we have like insurance, personal accidents, or hospital cash, is generally not very tangible for at least in Paraguay market. And the clients need to make his insurance product tangible. And this service allows us to offer to the client a complementary service to traditional insurance, where the client can use health service much more frequently, and therefore greatly value the service for which he's paying monthly. And next slide, please. And finally, our simple claims process allow us to create a satisfactory customer experience with the product. That is our objective. And where we accompany the clients through the process of managing the clients until he has finally cashed his check. Generally, insurance or underwriters in Paraguay do not have total focus on micro-insurance products. And BIMA and BIMA agents are dedicated to guiding to the customer at all times for the collection of the documentation and sequence presentation for the underwriter. We use tools such as Facebook or WhatsApp to provide customers with other channels where they can send the documentation easily, quickly, and if more convenience for us for the analysis. We saw the need to the approach of our office to initiate a client. Also, the fast payment in less than 3 or 5 days generate a great satisfaction in the claim. I think when we pay the claim in less day, it's better for the experience for the customer experience in all markets. That I think that this is a great challenge in Paraguay, and we need to work with the regulator to allow us have pay with the mobile money, for example. As an example, we have realized that the people who make the most claims are already people from the capital of the country, and they will enforce the communication, education about its coverage and the claims management process with the clients for the countryside. We call every 6 months after the purchase of our product to guarantee that is still a member of its coverage and process that might be done the client. Finally, I think that when we work more efficiently and thinking in the customer in all this process, we have the tools to improve our product or improve our industry. That is all. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Angela and Osvaldo, for that presentation. We have a few questions for you that we will pose at the end of the webinar during the Q&A session. So I'll now invite Saurabh to share with us Britam's experience in leveraging client insights to expand their microinsurance offerings. So Saurabh, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Aparna. Hi, everyone. Thanks for attending today's webinar. Today, I'll talk about how Britam has leveraged client insights over the last few years to expand its inclusive insurance business. I'll start by a quick intro to Britam, and then I'll talk about an example where client insights helped us in making a highly successful voluntary health microinsurance product. And finally, I'll quickly touch upon a few initiatives that we use to collect insights and how it's shaping our business. To start with, an introduction to Britam. Britam is a diversified financial services group based in Kenya with insurance, asset management, and property businesses. We have our presence across Eastern and Southern Africa region in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, and these countries. Coming to microinsurance, Britam started working in microinsurance in 2007 and has been a pioneer. It's also the market leader in microinsurance in Kenya, with 42% of the market share according to the various industry reports. In 2017, different microinsurance products at Britam under a premium of around 6.5 million USD. And we have insured around 450,000 lives under different microinsurance products, majority of which are health microinsurance products. Next slide, please. So I'll start by talking about an example from early days of microinsurance at Britam that helped us in realizing the value of client insights. In 2007, Britam had partnered with Kenya Tea Development Agency, which is a cooperative organization that manages small-scale tea sector in Kenya. It has around 600,000 farmer members. And the partnership was to provide some kind of risk protection to these farmers. And to start with, a funeral insurance cover was designed, which covered the farmer and their spouse. And it had two benefit options, as you can see, with premium as low as 85 cents per month, with the funeral and the cover paid for funeral expenses. And as you can see in the accompanying graph, initially the product had a good uptake. I mean, almost 21,000 people enrolled, policies enrolled in the first year. However, shortly this uptake started to drop, and by 2010 it had dropped to like 3,000 policies in the year, which really alarmed Britam, which decided to collaborate with ILO's Impact Insurance Facility to conduct a customer research. And this customer research conducted of some group discussions and interviews with the tea farmers to understand their needs, their response to the product. And this provided great insights that I'll talk about in a moment. And these insights led to a revamping of the product. And this new product iteration really changed the product perception. It led to a spike in the enrollment, as you can see in the graph, leading to almost more than 26,000 policies in 1 year. And it has maintained at that level. Currently, this product has achieved a 28% penetration rate within the target population, which was the 600,000 tea farmers, small-scale tea farmers, and which we consider has been quite an achievement considering the penetration rate in Kenya is only 4%. Next slide, please. So yes, what were these insights that actually helped us in revamping the product, improving its uptake, changing the product perception? So firstly, it was realized that farmers will actually value a hospitalization cover more than a funeral cover. And the reason for that was that culturally in Kenya, the whole community contributes towards someone's funeral expenses. It's considered as the last expense, and that's what funeral covers are called in Kenya. They're called as last expense cover. And this concept of community contribution is known as Harambe, that literally means all pulled together. So that's why, like, funeral expenses had this kind of social insurance, but hospital expenses were borne only by the family. And hence this product in 2010 was changed to a hospital cover with some additional benefits for surgical procedures. Then product was also expanded to cover children as emerged in the research. And finally, interestingly, initially the product started with 2 benefit options, but farmers' response was that they want more benefit options so that they can choose appropriate option based on their needs and ability to pay. So the product was so that Britam realized that choice is very important for uptake, and 8 different benefit options were introduced. So these are some of the key insights that helped us in revamping the product. And as you saw, these changes really helped us in improving the product and making it a successful microinsurance product. Next slide, please. So this example and several other similar examples with some of our other products convinced Britam about the value of capturing client insights through market research. And therefore, since then, attempts have been made to institutionalize research That includes having a dedicated resource who's responsible for coordinating all external research activities, any interviews or any kind of group discussions, which links to the point earlier made by Alice regarding having in-house capacity for research. Secondly, we also have like a mobile survey provider that we use to conduct mobile surveys with our customers. We have found that mobile surveys are quick to execute and they are cheap to implement. We often conduct such surveys with our existing customers to improve our offerings. For example, we recently conducted, I think 3 months back, conducted a mobile survey with our customers of our group health insurance product. And we found that members or insured members within a group generally have less awareness about product benefits because this product is being sold at a group level. And so this was quite a realization, and we started using SMSs to create more awareness about the product benefits. Finally, internally, Britam has also set up a business intelligence unit that analyzes customer data that includes enrollment data or claims data to extract key insights. So using these kind of structures, so these are some of the examples of initiatives that we take to conduct market research. And using these structures in 2017, we conducted a market segmentation study to further improve our understanding of our customers. So the thinking behind the study was really to realign our product design and distribution partnerships as per customer needs. And with this study, we realized that we often club this customer segment in one group, the micro insurance customer, as a bottom of pyramid customer. But we found that it's not a uniform segment, but it has like different distinct groups based on demographics, on behavior, and their attitude towards financial services in general and insurance in particular. So we are really using this study to inform our product design and distribution and organization structure. Next slide, please. So in my last slide, I will briefly talk about how we are applying lessons from this market segmentation study to shape the future of microinsurance or inclusive insurance business as Britam. This study included quantitative, qualitative kind of interviews and surveys with our customers. And finally, we came up with 5 segments. I will not go in detail of all these segments, but I'll talk about 2 segments that we prioritize. First of these segments on the bottom right of your screen, we are calling them edgy aspirers. So these customers are young urban men and women who conduct multiple side businesses. In Kenya, it's called side hustles, and they are very active online. And when we look at their financial services behavior, we realize that they prefer simple products that they can get through mobile phones. They don't have time or even interest to visit our traditional insurance branches or meet our agents. And thus, we are trying to reach this segment through different digital insurance products. One of our products launched this year, we have already been able to reach almost 75,000 lives in last 2-3 months. And the average age for this customer is 31 years. So it's really, this study is starting to yield results for us as well. But now, on the other hand, our meticulous accumulators, the segment on your top left of your screen, who are now older peri-urban customers who have worked hard to accumulate their resources. While they might also be present online, but they prefer to avail their financial services through more traditional channels. Hence, we aim to reach them through channels such as cooperatives and microfinance institutions. I'll just give one of the example of such a customer would be like a small retailer who is present in one of smaller towns in Kenya and who is member of multiple SACCOs, which are cooperative organizations based in Kenya. And this is how we intend to reach this segment. And of course, technology is still important to make it more efficient, but it's very important to leverage the trust they have in these cooperative channels to reach them. I will close my presentation now, and I will not go into detail of other segments. We have also tried to understand the financial behavior and their interaction with different financial institutions to tailor-made products and channels for these segments. But to conclude, I would just say that Britam has seen that client insights work and thus strongly believe in its value, and especially in case of inclusive insurance where there is limited information about customer behavior. So we hope to continue using these insights to serve this segment. I'll close now. I look forward to your questions, and kindly feel free to reach out even after the webinar to share your experience and insights as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Saurabh, for that quick but insightful presentation. So let me get started with some of the questions that have been coming in. So maybe Alice, the first question is for you. So you mentioned in your insights about, the last insight was on the power of client personas. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit more on that, especially on, like, once you have, say, a set of client personas that projects have been getting from the research, how do you prioritize which, client persona actually makes sense to serve? So how have the partners with FSDA or have actually decided which clients to, or which client segments to target?
Great question. Yeah, so we've been working at the ILO with the support of FSDA with quite a large number of partners where we've done this kind of process. So we've kind of gone to the target market, we've done a research process, and we've tried in each case to create these kind of personas. I think that, so your question was, how do you decide which persona you then try and meet the needs of? Is that right?
Correct. How do you prioritize?
So I think often the information you get from the personas gives you a clue as to which is going to be a good opportunity for you. So for example, when we were working with one company that wanted to introduce a health solution, the personas in themselves start to give you information about the health habits of those groups, their aspirations for the health of their families, what services they're already accessing. And you start to see that some personas have some clear gaps in them. Others are better served by existing services. And I think it also helps you see where practically you're kind of equipped to intervene. You don't want to be competing with groups of people that might already be well served. But with some personas, you might find that, yes, there is a need that they have, there is an aspiration that they have that fits quite well with what you're able to offer as a company. So I think it becomes a bit of a give and take between the needs of the clients and what the company is able to offer.
Okay, thank you. The next question is for BIMA. So the question is, have you seen a reflection of the impact of these activities that you've been performing? Has that had an impact on retention numbers or usage of the insurance products? And if so, can you share some data on that? So,
yes, so I can take that question. So as I said, this new methodology is quite well. I mean, we've been employing this for the past year that we have started being more human-centered, and yes, we have some examples in operations, like for example, Bangladesh right now and Ghana, that we have used this approach of being more like getting these insights on customers before designing the solutions that we want. And what we have observed is that for the retention has been greater. Like we see that in when we see the churn figures, because this was actually one of the biggest challenges for us, that we were doing great in intake, but not necessarily in retention. Like people were experiencing with our products, some of them were liking some of the features, but then we needed to, like, we didn't see like a stickiness of the product. So this is for normal insurance. So the real example I can share to you, it's that now we're complementing, like, for example, mHealth, which is the other branch that we are including in our portfolio, with the insurance product. So what we have done right now, based on the research that we have done in these markets, is having a bundle, I would say, or a closed loop concept in which we offer not only the insurance component, but also the mHealth. So we have a insurance that is something that the clients will use just in case they have an event of death or hospitalization. So this is more like a reactive product, but we are complementing more with a proactive product based on the research that we have done. What means proactive? That you don't necessarily need to, like, you know, have a big event in order to experience with us. So that's why we have consultations that happens in a proactive way, or even you receive weekly tips on health, and you are in contact. So this is adding more tangibility to our products, and of course is increasing the stickiness of the product. So we have seen that with this combination, our churn figures are much better now.
Great, thank you. Saurabh, the next question is for you. So how do the mobile surveys work exactly? What kind of issues can be dealt with this tool, and how deep can you go into an issue?
Thanks, Aparna. I think that's a very good question. Mobile surveys are kind of based on a combination of an SMS and USSD functionality, where we send out an SMS to the customer that Britam so we primarily use mobile surveys for our existing customers because we found that there is a better response rate. So we send out an SMS saying that your insurer Britam wants to ask you about this issue, and would you like to participate in this survey? And it will only take like 5 minutes or 3-4 minutes. But if the customer replies as yes to this mobile survey, if they are taken through like a USSD kind of mode where different questions come to them and they can select options. Of course, it's like a limited way of collecting information because we cannot expect to gain a lot of like free text kind of information, but it's mostly around multiple choice questions where we expect them to select one of the options. And also the number of questions have also to be limited. Generally, we don't expand mobile surveys from more than 4 to 5 questions. We primarily use these tools for doing rapid surveys with our customers about product awareness. Like, for example, the survey I was talking about was to try to identify how many of our group insured members know in detail about the product benefits. So we just frame some questions regarding product benefits, whether they know Britam has a helpline, whether they know that this product covers outpatient care. So that kind of product. So yeah, so it's used for rapid surveys.
Okay, thank you. So there's a similar question for BIMA is, how does BIMA evaluate whether clients are aware that they're insured and also whether they understand the product? So are there similar tools such as mobile surveys that BIMA is using? Angela, if you're speaking, you're actually on mute, so I'm not sure.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question, please? Because I had a bit of noise.
Yeah, so the question is, so how does BIMA evaluate whether clients are aware that they're insured and whether they understand the product? So do you use a similar tool such as the mobile survey that Britam uses?
Yes, so we do research at every stage. So what we do is that we have increased our touch points throughout the customer journey, and 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 Osvaldo explained this when, like, for example, before just after selling, we do quality. We do a quality process after selling the insurance. So that same week, we do, like, with a representative sample, we call again our customers and see if they have understood the products, if they know what they're having, what will be the price that they will pay. So this is like the first touch point that we have, the quality control. But then we're trying to increase those touch points in order to be communicated. And one of the touch points that it's very important is once they have received the benefit, when they have made their claims. For us, it's very important to know if that the benefit has been, significant for them, is the amount coverage was okay, what they have done with the money they have received, or the compensation that they have received. So yes, those are, I would say, like, in some we do try to be in contact with the customer, not only, as I said at the beginning, when we design the products for them, but actually throughout the whole customer journey.
Okay, thank you. And I think we will have to stop there. I just wanted to ask Alice, maybe as a last question, if there's anything else that you wanted to add, maybe as a response to any of these questions, or is any other kind of last point that you would like to make?
I just realized I was talking and I was on mute. Maybe just something that came out in general as well in the research was kind of need for simplicity as well. And, often because maybe we're thinking a lot about, maybe we're partnering with fintechs and we're working very innovative projects, there's a pressure to do something very complex, very innovative. And really, pardon me, my voice is going a little bit. And I think part of responding to client insights is understanding how to do it in the simplest way, given the kind of restrictions and the business possibilities that you have. And I found that really interesting in the BIMA example as well, how they're working to meet, one of the most difficult to meet challenges, which are the health challenges. And as Osvaldo was explaining to us, finding kind of feasible, relatively simple ways to meet those needs, I think is really important and really interesting. So yeah, I look forward to continuing the conversation. I think we'll be able to respond to a few more questions by email. Is that right, Aparna?
Yes, so thank you for everyone who submitted questions. I'm sorry that we could not go through all of them in this time, but we will respond to them and we'll share the document with you within the next week or so. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank all the speakers again for taking the time and sharing their experience with us. It was really interesting to hear the examples from BIMA and Britam on how they're trying to actually take the next step after collecting client insights. And as I said earlier, this is the 10-year anniversary of the Impact Insurance Facility. So we're using this opportunity to share experiences and lessons that we've gained with the last few years, as well as sharing the projects that we're working on right now. So do stay tuned for more webinars especially on this topic of improving value for clients, as well as other outputs that we'll produce throughout the year. At the end of this webinar, when you exit, you will receive a short survey. It's only like 3 or 4 questions on just to get your feedback on the webinar, and if you have any suggestions on how we can improve this format, please do share with us as well, which will help us to continuously improve our efforts to share lessons and practices with the sector more broadly. So thank you again for attending, and we hope to see you in the next webinar.